We make it, in fact, we get it in the diet, but we also make way more than we get in the diet. So that's why the nutritionists have given up worrying about it as a trivial impact, which is mostly how much of the stuff you make yourself, and that's related to how much saturated fatty acid you eat. So it's not a bad thing per se. It's a critical, important component of membranes. We get many of our hormones from it. All the sex hormones come from cholesterol. We couldn't digest fats without the bile salts that come from cholesterol that we secrete into the intestinal tract. Vitamin D comes from cholesterol. There's all these important things that come from cholesterol out of this pathway. But high levels of it are associated with heart disease. So like everything in life, a little moderation in everything, right? Too much of this can lead to a bad situation. So you can control how much you get in the diet, and I guess they're kind of giving up on worrying about that part of it because it's not as important as numerically as the stuff you make in your body yourself. And the only way to control that is through drugs, statins, Lipitor, all these things they advertise on TV, all these things to reduce cholesterol are called statins. There's a class of drugs, and they inhibit the enzyme HMG-CoA reductase. And if we go back here, that's this enzyme right here, HMG-CoA reductase. It's one of the earliest steps in this pathway leading to cholesterol. This drug, Lipitor, and all the other Lipitor-like drugs block that enzyme. They block our cholesterol biosynthesis, and that moderates, it at least slows it down. It doesn't stop it entirely, but it cuts it way back so you don't make as much cholesterol.
Dr. Robert, should we know the products and the pathway and the enzymes for
No,
the...
you don't need to know all this. Maybe the extra point that I just made that statins inhibit this pathway early on. But no, I'm not going to ask you to reproduce this. Maybe I would ask you to recognize one of these branched 5-carbon isoprene units, but not the pathway. Of course, some people say this is great, lowering cholesterol is healthy, but there are other things that come of this too, like the chain that's part of CoQ10, very important molecule. Its long hydrocarbon tail is built out of this stuff. So some people, for example, if you're on statins, they say you should take CoQ10 because you're inhibiting the synthesis of that important compound. Cholesterol, here's mature cholesterol. It's got just one alcohol group. It's the only water-loving part of it. The rest of it is hydrophilic, or hydrophobic rather. So this sits in membranes. This part's buried in the membrane. The little alcohol group sticks its nose out into the water. That's the only part that's hydrophobic. We make all of these hormones out of it. Testosterone, estradiol, cortisol, all these things. Most of the cholesterol, when we metabolize it, when we get rid of it, we're dumping it into the gut. We add these polar groups on the end to make it a more water-soluble part. So it has water-loving, water-hating parts. It's like a detergent. It's a detergent that we secrete through bile ducts. This is the main component of bile. This emulsifies dietary fat into the small intestine, breaks it up into little droplets. So the fat becomes made more water-soluble through the action of these cholesterol derivatives. And this just shows how you get vitamin D out of cholesterol.